Hey guys, it's Sheridan. Welcome back to part 2 of Abortion Myths Debunked. If you haven't seen my first video, the link is in the description box. I highly recommend you watch it. In each video, we're going to talk about commonly believed myths about abortion. In my first video, we talked about whether or not abortion was safe and humane and whether or not it empowers women. In today's video, we are going to talk about the F word, fetus, and we're also going to talk about whether my body, my choice is a valid argument for abortion. I said this in my last video, and I'm going to say it in every video. If you are someone who has had an abortion, or maybe you have influenced someone into having an abortion, you need to know that I am not judging you. I am for you. I'm not against you. I have much respect for you. I just want to talk about something that there's a lot of misinformation on, and I want to encourage people that it is actually possible to be an advocate of both unborn children and of their mothers and fathers. We don't actually have to choose sides. So stay tuned to the end of the series because I believe it's possible for us to stand up for women and babies at the same time. And just to clarify, I have a master's degree in the political and social sciences. This is a topic I'm very passionate about, but I also love academic integrity. So I'm not pulling opinion pieces. I have chosen articles, academic journal articles that were published in the last 5 years, as well as chosen to take content from current experts in the field. So stay tuned and let's jump on in. All right, so first we're going to talk about whether or not that thing growing in the womb is just a fetus. In order to bring some of the humanity back into this conversation, I'm going to take you through the stages of development of a baby inside of a mother's womb. At 3 weeks after conception, that heart starts beating. At 6 weeks after conception, there is brain activity and arms and legs form. The baby starts moving at week 10. That means the heartbeat, brain function, arm and leg growth, and moving all take place in the first trimester. Why am I bringing it up? There is a very important court case, the Dobbs, Mississippi court case that's at the Supreme Court right now, and our nation is deciding some very critical things. Mississippi recently banned abortion after 15 weeks. So you need to know that by 15 weeks, babies have fingerprints, they have fingernails, they have eyebrows and eyelashes. You can tell their gender, all of their organs are fully formed, and babies are breathing by week 15. They're breathing amniotic fluid. So it's not just like a clump of cells. This is a living, breathing human being. Okay, if that wasn't impressive enough, babies also begin language learning in the womb, and there have been a number of studies on this. I'll just tell you about one of them. In 2017, there was a study done of international adoptees from Korea with Dutch as their current language. And here's what the researchers found out. Children, even pre-linguistic babies under 6 months of age, that includes infants, children adopted early in life into another linguistic community typically forget their birth language, but retain unaware, relevant linguistic knowledge that may facilitate learning or relearning of birth language patterns. They went on to say that this process of acquiring a language starts both automatically and extremely early, before birth, during the last third of the time a baby spends in the womb. That means babies are language learning in the womb. What they said is that infants adopted into other linguistic countries unknowingly retain bits of the language they heard in the womb, and they have an easier time learning that language later in life, even if they never heard the language after birth due to growing up in a different linguistic country. Why am I saying all this? The point being that what some people consider to be just a clump of cells inside the mother's womb, it's actually a human being that is learning a language. Language learning doesn't start at birth. It starts in the last trimester of a pregnancy. So they are fully human. It's not just a fetus. But to further explain that it's not just a fetus, I have an analogy. Look at this orange here. I have a couple questions for you. If I take off the peeling, what are you going to find on the inside of this? I'm not a magician. I don't know how to pull special tricks. So that being the case, are you going to find an apple or maybe some broccoli inside of here if you take off the peeling? No, you're going to find an orange. Okay, so here's my next question. At what point does this become an orange? Does it become an orange the moment you take off the peeling? Obviously, anyone with common sense would say no, it does not become an orange the moment you take off the peeling. Why not? Well, we would say it's always been an orange. The peeling is just there to protect the orange and it's to protect its development as well. Okay, so why does this logic not apply to human beings? So if we take a mother's womb and peel back the layer of the womb, what are we going to find in there? Are we going to find maybe a cat or a dog? No, of course not. We're going to find a human baby. And at what point does that little clump of cells become a human baby? Does it become a human baby at the point that the mother gives birth? No, of course not, because moms go into labor at different points in time. Some of them go over their due date, some of them go into labor really prematurely. So, at what point is there a certain point in time where that baby becomes a human being? No, it was a human being always. The womb is just there to protect its development. So, I fear that we've lost sight of the humanity of the human being that's growing in the womb. And so I just wanted to show you this analogy just so we can remember that it's not a clump of cells. It's actually a creation from God Himself and something that deserves our love, care, attention, and protection. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the my body, my choice argument. I recently listened to an interview that I absolutely loved, so I wanted to share snippets of it with you. Senator James Langford recently interviewed Dr. Christina Francis on abortion, and what they talked about was so fascinating. Just so you know, Dr. Francis is a board-certified OBGYN, and she's also the chair of the board of the American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists. And just for any skeptics out there, I fact-checked her just to make sure what she was saying lined up. Okay. So when Senator Langford was asking her about taking care of pregnant women, Dr. Francis said, it's a complex process because we're taking care of two patients when we take care of pregnant women. And she said that any physician who takes care of pregnant women who's being honest will acknowledge that when we take care of a pregnant woman, we're actually caring for two patients and trying to maximize the health of both. When Langford asked her how early is fetal development and also when are those tissues of the baby different from the tissues of the mom, here's what she said. A lot of people think, well, we don't really know an exact point in time. This was the thought process that was alluded to during the Roe v. Wade decision. But she says, we actually do, and it's not debated in scientific circles anymore. We know that at the moment of fertilization, a new, distinct, living, and whole human being comes into existence. This is scientific fact now. It's no longer debated. At the moment in time, you don't have a fertilized egg. The egg ceases to exist. The sperm ceases to exist. You now have a new human organism. They are fully human from that moment of fertilization, completely different from their mom. And then in my own research, I also found out that the baby has its own blood type, its own DNA. Obviously, we know it has its own body. But this means that the my body, my choice argument is really poorly reasoned because science now shows that there is a distinct human being completely different from the mom, and it's no longer debated. So the my body, my choice argument is flawed. If you want that argument to actually be more accurate, what you are saying is their body, my choice, and that's very shaky ground to stand on. This begets the question, are babies people or are they property? And some of you think, well, maybe babies can be people or property. But I want to bring up an interesting point that Senator Langford alluded to. He was saying, this debate sounds eerily similar to the logic behind the 3/5 Compromise of 1787, saying that 3/5 of a state's slave population would count towards its total population, a number which was used for determining representation in Congress and the tax obligations of each state. So I looked a little bit into the 3/5 Compromise, and here's what I found out. It was an issue of whether to count slaves as people or property. Samuel Chase, one of the representatives from Maryland, said, slaves should not be considered members of the state more than cattle. So what Senator Langford was trying to say is that the same dehumanizing force that labeled slaves 3/5 of a person, it's the same force that said women could not own property or vote. And it's the same thing that's saying a baby in utero is not a human being but property, that it's okay to kill children simply because they are inconvenient. But we know now that they are fully human from the moment of fertilization. This is not something that is debated anymore in scientific circles. And yet I see people debating on Facebook. I see the media debating about it. And I just see the things that are said, they're said sincerely, but sometimes in complete ignorance. Guys, I've sat in the lecture halls full of pro-choice reasoning. I've watched the YouTube videos that made me question my pro-life values. And I've cringed at the antics of some pro-lifers who have good intentions, but they're just adding fuel to the fire. But in all of this, what is important? We have ended the lives of 62 million of our own children through abortion over the last 50 years. 62 million children in less than 50 years. Do we even understand the magnitude of that number? And I already told you in my last video that babies inside the womb feel pain as early as 8 to 10 weeks, which means that when we are aborting those children, we are actually torturing them. This isn't just putting an animal to sleep. This is torturing human, innocent life. I'm tired of us doing what's convenient instead of what's right. And I'm just saying, enough is enough. Will you guys join me in this fight to end abortion? Listen, it's not about being pro-choice or pro-life. It really isn't, because at the end of the day, if you truly value all life, you will see that it is actually possible to value unborn children, to advocate for them, but also to advocate for their mothers and fathers. I'm done drawing a line in the sand and be like, you're either pro-choice or pro-life. No, how about this? I'm for the mom and dad, and I'm also for the baby. Enough is enough with having to choose one or the other. I choose both of them. We're going to help both of them. So we're going to keep on talking about myths in future videos. But the end of this series, I'm going to talk about solutions, but we got to cover the problem before we can talk about solutions. Stay tuned though, a solution is coming and you are part of that solution. All right, guys, if you liked this video, I ask you to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can get future installments. And if this video was helpful, would you consider sharing it with a friend? Our nation is making some major decisions right now, and I just want people to be informed. Please feel free to leave comments down below. Let me know your thoughts, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.